Hey guys, back again. So let's do another review, this time for Blair Witch 2016. And I call it that because it's one of those horror movie titles or remake titles, even though this isn't a remake, it's a sequel. It's got a title that you've got to point out the year to it. Kind of like Halloween 2018, the new Scream is coming out. Scream 2022, I guess is what we're going to call it. Or Suspiria 2018. So I reviewed the first two Blair Witch movies, and I really enjoyed both of them rewatching them. I love the first one. The second one I think is actually really fascinating. It's a very interesting movie in the fact that it is destroyed by studio heads, but it is still a good and interesting story. I do really like Blair Witch 2. And Blair Witch 2016 is a sequel to just the first one because the second one is, of course, out of continuity of the first one. It's about that movie in the second movie. Um, so, like I said, this is a sequel to the first one. It is about this guy named James, the brother of Heather, who in the first movie goes missing. Like her and her two friends go missing. So he goes out to find her. They go out into the woods. Him and this new bunch of people go to the woods, and it's a lot like the first movie. Um, it is found footage like the first one. It doesn't do this thing the second one does. I think it's so weird looking at this one, this movie compared to the first one, because the first one feels so authentic, and the first movie was marketed as this really happened, like real life thing happened. These kids are missing, and it's not that's not true. But if you if you took that away from the first movie, that if it actually did happen, the acting in the first one makes it feel like that movie, like if that movie was a real thing, like real footage, it feels legit. In this one, I still like this movie, but it feels more polished than the original one. Which, I mean, the original also had the fact of having an old camera that they recorded on from that era, so it also made it look really reverted and really creepy. And this one has modern cameras, and that's fine. But I feel like there's something that the first movie could not replicate. Like you couldn't replicate the first movie again. This movie, I like I said, I do like this movie, and I think it does a good job of being a good sequel. But it's so weird seeing the distinction between this film and the first one in terms of how modern it is updated, but the story is pretty much the same in a lot of ways. Think of a Force Awakens type of thing where it's like it's kind of a New Hope basically again, with a couple little things altered, but it's like that. The characters in this, like I said, the acting is fine. It's good, but it's nowhere good as great as the first one, and it really sucks because, like I said, the first one, if you thought the first one was a snuff film or like footage of something really happening that happened horribly to these people, you would have believed it because the acting was so realistic and so legitimate in the first movie, and the acting is good in this one. But like I said, the movie is just more polished than the first one, which stinks. But I mean, you have to do that in 2016 whenever this came out. It had to be like that, which is not the movie's fault and not anybody's fault involved in the movie. It's just you could see there's a difference between the two. Um, I did like the fact that they did go into the Blair Witch backstory a little bit more. I like that they talked more about it and more revealing about taking her taking these kids, and then later in the movie whenever they're in the house they hear kids talking. Like I did like stuff like that, and it was a cool, really cool distinction between the first one where they added in more backstory to Blair Witch. But I think it works, and I think it's really fascinating. um I did like, it's weird because the modern technology thing, I really love the first one and how it looks. This one I don't like as much the look of it, but I mean it's just because it's from 2016, which is not, like I said, not a fault for anybody involved in it. It's just it's not going to be like the first one. Um, but I did like the fact that they used drones in the movie. I thought that was actually really cool, and I like that that is another added element to show the Blair Witch screwing with people and showing that this drone can go up in the air and then it's just gone. There's no like no connection to it, where you don't know where it goes, and of course you can't see where it goes because of course the witch is altering time or altering these people's perceptions of things, which is really cool. Um, I thought that the movie had some good, legit creepy moments. I like the girl, I think her name was Lisa, who gets her foot cut in the water. Then later she peels, like, takes her shoe off because her feet are hurting so bad. Her foot is swelling, and then she pulls out like a freaking, like, it's a big ass twig. Like, it is creepy because it's, of course, Blair Witch. It's got all these twigs and sticks, and I like that she pulls a twig out of her foot. That was really cool horror. That was just a really cool moment. Um, and I really like the moments where like that tree falls on the character, where like I thought that was really scary and how that was filmed and how found footage made that effective. Um, and I really like moments like that, and also that girl Talia who snaps the twig in half. It snaps her in half, and it's really good. And you don't even see it, and I like that too. I like how you don't see that much violence on screen. It's scary because you don't see much. Um, this movie does a great job with that, like the first one, where it is you don't see much on-screen violence, which I enjoy on-screen violence when it's over the top and goofy, and I like movies like this where you don't see much and it's just up to the imagination, and that's what makes it scarier because you don't really see much. Um, I really like that. I liked the idea again more of the Blair Witch stuff. I liked how it was like the first one with a time loop, where like they don't know where they're going, and like they meet up with some friends later who they get lost from, and then they say, "Oh, we've been walking around like for like days," and they're like, "What are you talking about? It's been like a couple of hours." Like the two differences between the people that are imagining that it's been days and the people who have imagined that it's just been hours that these people are gone. I really like that. I think that's awesome. Um, I like too how whenever they go into the house, and I think I messed up whenever I said earlier that girl. I don't think it was Lisa that had the foot. I think Lisa's the main girl with James, but had to correct that. But whenever Lisa and James go into the house, I think it's really really effective. I like the fact that it's like the first one with the ending where they go into the Blair Witch house, but it is longer and it actually works really really well. That build up to the third act is really really fantastic with them going into the house, and the fact that it's so weird because you expect this movie to end like the first one, and it does, but they add in just enough in this house and the creepiness of it and the effectiveness of it just to show that this was a really fun sequel. And I like the fact that it's just so weird seeing the differences in the house whenever they go up in the attic and there are lights, and it's like, are they actually in sunlight and like the Blair Witch is screwing with them and they don't know where they're at, but it's actually sunny outside and you can see it breaking through the house. um, and then no one can find the house in this movie or the first Blair Witch. So where are they at? Are they in like a temporal, like something like Troll, where like they're in a temporal like place of time where like nobody can get to, like the first Troll from 1986? Like it just reminded me of that. Like it's like you're in some kind of magic place where you can't, like, nobody can get to. It's in a weird non-escapable place. Um, Really really like that. I like how you see the Blair Witch a little bit. You don't see her in the first one. Um, and she is really tall. Um, and also, I listened to the commentary. Um, the director, I think, is it Fede Alvarez? I think. They were he and this other person, I think, producer, were talking about how there's really not much CGI in this movie at all. Like there is some CGI, but it's not prevalent, and I really appreciated that. I did not expect it because the movie actually looks so good that you expect CGI in it, if that makes sense. Because sometimes CG can be integrated well, and in this one at first I thought there was more CGI because like it just seemed like it, but no, actually there is not. I mean, there is CGI, of course. There's touch ups, but there's not overly CGI. Even the Blair Witch, when you see her in the house and she's really tall, is not CGI. It's a person, and I was surprised that in that day and age. It's weird to say that day and age. It was only in 2016, but in 2016, I was surprised that they didn't do that. Um, which again is really good because then it compares to the first Blair Witch, um, in terms of that authenticity. So that I appreciated a lot. Um, I really liked how the movie just does a great job of tension at the end. Like I said, in the house, whenever Lisa goes down into that hole in the ground under the house, and she just comes right up into the house again. It's so awesome. It's so scary. And claustrophobia, not a fan of that. So her getting stuck in that hole, barely able to move, barely able to get out, so effective. So freaking good. And the movie just does a great job of really being scary. Like I said, the first one is better in a lot of ways, but this one is really a fantastic follow up. And I do really like Blair Witch 2, but it's a movie that I know a lot of people hate. I don't hate it. I really do, and I really do like it, especially on rewatch. But it's a movie that you can argue is not that well made with like all the random studio head shit in it. Like just making this movie kind of Blair Witch 2, making that kind of just ridiculously kind of outrageous in what they did and made it kind of dated, the studio heads. But this one in particular is just a really great follow up to the first one, and I like the fact that it is really terrifying at the end. And the movie is really effective throughout. The characters are okay, they're not as good as the first one. Or honestly, even as memorable as the second one, because I like the second one's characters a lot. But um, but the movie is a really good roller coaster ride. It is really effective, really scary. I liked a lot of moments of tension and fear, and I really liked. There's the scene where they're in the house, Lisa and James. She has an anxiety attack, and this year I did have one of those. Kind of. It wasn't like a big one, but it was. I've never felt that in my life before. So I had that, and then after I had that, I did see this movie after that, and listening to the commentary with Fede Alvarez talking about the anxiety attack and talking about how it swells up and swells up, and it's really big and it's really big, and you feel like it's never going to end. But then that moment where you get rid of the anxiety, whenever you finally relax and you know it's going to be okay, is great. And they do a good job of that at the end of the movie with Lisa hyperventilating and freaking out to James, and they calm each other down. And I just really liked that as well. I really liked how the movie was just so incredibly effective with the horror. Like I said, the negatives, not really negatives, they're just whatever isms. Like the characters are okay. I don't really like how it's modernized look with the cameras, but I mean you got to have that in 2016. It's not going to go back to the old cameras, but the old cameras are way creepier. Um, but besides those little things, I still really enjoyed the sequel. I thought it was a really enjoyable time. I thought it was very effective. I'm glad I rewatched it. I'm glad I rewatched all three because I really did enjoy this franchise on rewatch. It was really fun. No matter what you think of any of them, I think that they did a really fun. They were really fun in my opinion. So that's it for today. Blair Witch 2016. Like I said, reviews are all done for Blair Witch. So yeah, awesome. And I've got more reviews coming up. So I'll see you guys later. Take care.